Hello all, this is Jeff Harvey from Down Under Visa. If you're not familiar with us, we are most certainly the registered migration agent practice here in the Philippines. We specialise in visas for Australian Filipina couples. So we don't do work visas, we don't do student visas, we just do visas to get loving couples together. Okay. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is about why you need a professional registered migration agent. Okay, Australia has a great system in place, the registered migration agent system. It's in place there to ensure that only qualified people can give advice to other people about immigration matters. And what by immigration matters, I mean relating to visas and citizenship applications. It also means you don't have to fumble through on your own and possibly make some horrible mistakes. Look, the system involves a number of areas. Firstly, it requires that there are tertiary qualifications for registered migration agents, in other words, postgraduate studies in Australian migration law. I really hope you can't hear a howling cat outside the door. It seems to be looking for a boyfriend at the moment. So, yeah. Sorry, where were we? Postgraduate studies in Australian migration law. So somebody needs to be a graduate first and then they specialise in Australian migration law. Now there's an adherence to a code of conduct for registered migration agents. This is a very important thing. This is something that sets the standards for ethical and professional behaviour amongst registered migration agents, and our registration as agents depends on us maintaining that code of conduct, so we can't make our own rules. Incidentally, I've just heard of a education agent in Manila who's not supposed to be dabbling in partner visas. They're supposed to be matching up students with courses. That's it. They're dabbling in partner visas. I saw their conditions. They say you pay the fees up front, and if they decide to terminate the arrangement, well then they will do so and you get nothing back. Well, I can't even do that, even if I thought it was a great idea. Can't be done. We have to stick to our code of conduct. You've got assurance that the migration agent isn't an undischarged bankrupt. You've got an assurance that the migration agent doesn't have a criminal record. We have to submit police clearances, things like that, in order to keep getting re-registered. Now we need to have an up-to-date professional library of migration law, and it needs to be constantly updated with current laws. So any changes, we need to be up to date on those. You've got assurance that the migration agent does annual continued professional development studies, so we have to do further studies to keep ourselves updated and keep ourselves current. And we are supervised and can be investigated by the Migration Agents Registration Authority, which it's part of the department, and it's there to basically make sure that we do adhere to the code of conduct in everything that we do. So you've got that. So what it means is you are dealing with a professional who knows his stuff, and you're dealing with somebody is not going to be a scam artist. He's not going to be a fly-by-nighter. He's not going to be an opportunist who's willing to experiment on you and your future happiness. See, part of the code of conduct is if I can't handle the particular case because it's outside of my expertise, I can't experiment on you. I've got to refer you on. You want a student visa? We don't do them. We'll tell you to go somewhere else. And you know what else it means? It means that we can and we will tell you when your expectations are wrong. And this is my main message to you today. So, your migration agent tells you that you're wrong. What do you do? This happens. It happens more than you could ever possibly imagine. I'll give you a few examples of when clients do an assessment, and some of the instances where they can get things wrong in their expectations. There's a free visa assessment form. If you look down the bottom, you'll see a link to that. We can tell you straight away if we can or cannot help you. Okay, client says the lady is still married, but he'll marry her because the man ran off 5 years ago and they don't know where he is. I think that should be fine. Client says we're in a de facto relationship, so we'll apply for a partner visa based on that. We spent a week in a hotel, we spent another week in a resort, And look, I send her some money through Western Union, and we chat on WhatsApp all the time, so we're in a de facto relationship. Client says we haven't met in person, we can't meet because of COVID, but we want a partner visa. That's a very common scenario at the moment, very sad. Client says, I don't think it's right that they can force us to marry. We will marry when we decide to. In other words, they're believing they can dictate what they believe is fair or unfair to the department. Client says she wants to bring her 36-year-old daughter with her as part of the partner visa. Well, they want to bring mum along to take care of the kids. They want to include her in the partner visa. Well, look, these examples, I'm sorry, but they are all wrong. They cannot work. And sorry if these are things that you might have said in a visa assessment or an email to me. I'm not laughing at you or anyone. Why on earth would you know? It's not your area of expertise. So why would you know? But fortunately it is ours, and we will tell you the truth. Now, Australian migration law, it's not especially flexible. It's basically the understatement of the year. Each Australian visa has an entry in a law book, which is the Migration Regulations of 1994. That's an act of Commonwealth law. Now, each visa has a class and a subclass and a whole string of regulations which will say what will allow them to grant you a visa and what will force them to refuse you a visa. Basically, you tick all the boxes, you get a visa. You don't tick the boxes, no visa. It's all designed to ensure a level of universal fairness to all applicants and to remove the possibility of individual bias on the part of the case officer. Look, examples of that. Look, clients sometimes worry, there's a big age gap between them. That might prevent them getting a visa. Maybe the case officer might laugh at you. Well, there's nothing written in law that says must be less than a 10-year age gap. It's not actually addressed at all. So, they can't refuse a visa because they say, gosh, you're far too old. Can't do it because it's not written in law. Look, if a 97-year-old came along wanting to marry a 19-year-old, and which I hope that doesn't happen, I'd rather not having to deal with that. Look, if they believe it's not a genuine relationship and they've got evidence of that, they can refuse based on that, but they can't refuse based on an age cap. Example, clients, we're getting a lot of this. Can't meet because of COVID, but we want a visa. And I understand and I sympathise. I really do. But look, unless the men in Canberra change the law, you cannot apply for a partner visa because that is written in law. It's absolutely clear cut. If you haven't met in person, you can't apply for a partner visa. That was written into the law many years ago in a response to visas being granted for arranged marriages when the couple hadn't met before. And we get requests to bring nieces and nephews to Australia regularly. Had one recently, and I could understand why. And I felt sorry for them. It was a compassionate thing. A niece, well-loved niece, was basically facing neglect. I won't go into the details, of course. It's personal. And I do understand that. I mean, I've got a house full of kids here, which, many of whom I rescued from neglect or near enough neglect. We raise them well, we raise them properly in a loving home. I understand that, and I understand that's what a couple wants to do, but there's nothing in the law that allows that to happen, and I can't bend the law. I can't, call up Canberra and say, come on guys, do something here. There are no niece and nephew visas. Therefore, there's no way that child can come. Now, if the child was adopted, yeah, but that's a very long and complicated and drawn-out procedure. But unless the child is adopted or it's your own child by birth or by marriage, well, then you cannot bring them. Simple as that. Some regulations have provisions for waivers, especially when exceptional circumstances occur which are compelling and compassionate. I'll tell you right now that missing each other is not considered an exceptional circumstance. In fact, it's rather normal. You can, and there's no point saying, come on Jeff, tell them how much we miss each other. If the rules say you can't, well then you can't, and that's all there is about it. But some of them do allow for waivers. Some of them allow the minister to make an actual decision on that to override the regulation. But others, things like, they must meet in person. Even the minister cannot override that. So, fortunately, things like that, nothing you can do. Now, will you accept guidance and occasional bad news? I really hope you will. We can work together if you do. But if you want me to be a yes man, well, I can't do it. It's frustrating for us when someone comes to Down Under Visa all hopeful with the best possible intentions, just like the couple wanting to bring the child. There's nothing I can do because the plan is wrong. It's not practical. Now, if you made a decision to come to us, and sometimes people don't understand quite how migration agents work, thinking, go to the one-stop visa shop and say, one visa please. But I have to turn around and tell you it won't work if it won't work, because we are consultants in Australian migration law, and we have to interpret the law, and we have to explain that to you. Now, you don't like hearing that, obviously. I wouldn't like it either, and I don't like it either. It's a spanner in the works. If you don't accept what I have to say, well, we're not going to get on. We're not going to work together. I can't help you. Some people are stuck in a bind because of the holes they've dug for themselves, and nothing short of a miracle will allow them to be together. And others, they have years of legal struggle or logistical issues where they're going to be a lot of travelling back and forth, and trying to establish de facto relationships, things like that. And I do feel sorry for a lot of people. But what would make me even sorrier would be if I told somebody, yes, it can be done, when in fact it can't be. Setting up a client for failure, basically. No, sorry, I'm not a yes man. So, look, there's no miracles, there's no backdoor schemes. We, as migration agents, we can do amazing things, but all within the law and all within the realms of possibility. My name is Jeff Harvey. I'm a registered migration agent. My name is not Mary Poppins. I don't have a magic bag. I don't have any singing, dancing chimney sweeps to call on to make incredible things happen. I'm quite blunt about things, but I will tell you what I will. But I will tell you how it is, even if it's not a pretty story. But at least you're being dealt with honestly, and if I can help you, I will. And in so many cases, if you work with us, then we can do amazing things. Keep your eye out, please subscribe, and you will find that we will have follow-ups to this, so you can learn a little more. Thanks very much.